everybody. I hope all is well. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving and you're having a great holiday season. I have been so busy with work that I haven't been able to really keep up on anything outside of that the last few weeks. And so what I want to talk about in this video is kind of that thought that follows up maybe a little bit of the last video, is like, are Christians being led into the slaughterhouse, or are Christians leading themselves into the slaughterhouse? And so when you start to analyze, the three Abrahamic religions, it's, in my opinion, it's evidently clear once you really research this for a long period of time that Christian and Christian-based nations are being kind of destroyed from within, but also from external factors as well. And so I do think it is so easy to call people stupid, and I have been guilty of that because there has been a genuine dumbing down process in this country, but also the Western world. When I lived in Germany, I slowly saw, by the time I was done living there, this more Americanized lifestyle. And when I visited a year later, and then I went back twice in 2017, and then I went and did the whole Camino, and I went to in 2018, and then I went to Germany after hiking the Camino. It was highly, by 2018, so in between 2015 to 2018, it was highly Americanized, to where even like German, your typical German European products were on the bottom shelf. So for example, let's just talk about cereal. So in Europe, you have like rice puffs, shit that you would find at like a natural food store here, like an old school natural food store. They had like rice puffs, muesli, oats, like basic breakfast stuff. All of that now was on the bottom shelf, and then your American Kellogg's products and everything was on that eye level. So if you know anything about the psychology and marketing of grocery stores, that is a genuine, they set everything up on purpose. Especially children's cereals, where these cartoons are making eye contact with the kids. But before I go into the purpose of this video, last Friday, I was waiting around for an estate sale to open up. So I was in my car, and every now and then I just flip through the channels, and it stopped on NPR, and I really don't listen to that shit because it just bothers me. But every now and then I do listen to it if it's interesting, because, even if it's a blatant BS stories, sometimes there is some truth within that. There are some journalists who are still, like for example, on local Seattle politics and stuff, talking about like the drastic rent increases. They still care about these certain things and how inflation has harmed like the limited income people, which is very accurate. So kind of where I'm going with this is there was an NPR story, and they were talking about the election, and the NPR radio person interviewed Jeffrey Goldberg from The Atlantic. Now, when they were talking about politics in the elections, it was obviously a discussion. I did tune in partway through, but it was a discussion between, liberal and conservative politics, and who's going to win the conservative ticket to run for presidency. And so Jeffrey Goldberg, you can figure that out by the name, was basically saying, no, he didn't. He's not basically saying. What he said is that somebody like Donald Trump, if he does get to be the, I don't know what you call it, the ticket holder for the conservative election, is that Donald Trump does not have interest in sticking up and or operating to the Constitution. Jeffrey Goldberg was saying that Trump only has an interest in hiring loyalists, more or less from what I assumed from that conversation, was that he wanted to hire people who are loyal to Donald Trump. And he basically said that, loyal to Donald Trump and not to the Constitution. If anybody has been following politics for the last 5 or 6 years, or at least kind of waking up in 2015 and 16, you clearly know the Democrats are the ones that have been ripping up the fucking Constitution in front of our face. We could even just look at something as blatant as gun laws and the Second Amendment. So where I'm going with this is that is either a very confused individual that they interviewed, which I don't think it is, or they're just blatantly lying. I'm not going to say I'm an independent now. Like, that's where I fall, because I think both sides, neocons, neolibs, they're deep in both sides, and they have been ruining everything to work toward the same agenda. A lot of the neocons are more warmongering people, and then the neolibs are the more perverted PEDOs. But the PEDOs are also on the conservative side as well. I mean, you could even just look at somebody like a Mike Pence and just kind of get like kind of creeped out by him. But where I'm going with this is that no wonder why people are so confused, because these are blatant, easy lies that are being said on mainstream news, which anybody knows this, but this is just basic absorption of information and react. So now you're in a belief system that Donald Trump does not want to operate by the Constitution of America and just kind of run this country like a dictator. So that the confusion in this country, I mean, it is so extreme and so deep. It takes high levels of emotional intelligence as well as detachment to kind of navigate through all of this. Yes, it does take discernment, but every single spiritual YouTube person I hear of talks about discernment. And, you know, some of us have fallen down a trap, or, you know, or kind of believed in additional lies, because it's just one psyop after another. So when I was at Thanksgiving, I spent it with my in-laws, and I just, it wasn't even a point of like frustration or being mad, but like everybody is like, oh, I got to get my RSV, and I got to get my, I got my flu shot, but I need my 5th COVID booster, and all of those things. And it was just more of like my heart was breaking. There are people at that table who I don't know if they believe in really anything, and then there's like loyal Lutheran people. But what I have seen through even the Lutheran church that I've attended and the sewing group that I've been a part of at this Lutheran church is that these liberal Lutherans, because they are operating more through kindness, are walking into a trap of disease and or death, because they are listening to this information that has been told to them by, you know, high-level journalists and medical establishments that this is for your health. When anybody who knows any basic form of health and healing can understand that poison is the absolute worst thing that you can do to your body, your mind, and your soul. This is why toxic poison kills rodents and insects. You kill off the nervous system, and humans are really no different. But it was just more of that form of sadness, like these old ladies. Yeah, I mean, one old lady from the sewing group, you know, is almost 80, and in October, she got her flu shot, and then she got really sick for like 2 weeks and couldn't come to the sewing group, couldn't really do a whole lot. And she's like, you could tell there was some confusion within her. It's like, well, this wasn't supposed to happen, but she still kind of led her way there. So that's where I'm going with, like, that type of group of people are leading themselves into a slaughterhouse through self-destruction. And then you have the other end of the spectrum, which I kind of talked about before, which is like the more evangelical side, which has been infiltrated by the Satanists and the Pharisaical Kabbalah, that these Satanists have been operating these Christian organizations and churches and have manipulated Bibles and textbooks to believe that, you know, like Israel belongs to the Jews. So it kind of brings support. Those type of people are bringing support to the war efforts to slaughter a bunch of Palestinians who have lived there for a very long time. I guess the thing is, if you believe in the stuff, and I'm gonna kind of move a little bit because this old lady is gonna be by me, but a lot of people just think a lot of the stuff that Israel does is a psyop, or it's done intentionally to give right or causeway to all of these things. So some people do believe that what Hamas did, all of this was just like a psyop type of thing. So it really depends on what you believe in, and whether that belief is accurate and true. But that's what, you know, it's like we have two sides of the spectrum of Christianity that's leading us to the slaughterhouse. You have the liberal Lutherans, you're really kind liberal people. I mean, there's a lot of young people who are Christians in places like Seattle, and and yoga instructors, and they've all, jibby-jabbed themselves up because of kindness to others. Jesus sacrificed himself, so they will sacrifice themselves. So that's their frame of thought. And so that's self-destruction. And then you have the other side, which is going to support war efforts, which is going to lead us into more global catastrophes. That's still destruction, but it might not be necessarily within, or personal self-destruction, but it's on that larger scale. So I still think that the money and the propaganda that has gone in from everywhere, from the other two Abrahamic religions, are slaughtering the shit out of us. And that's why I believe we have to have logic and reason coupled with wisdom and discernment to navigate through these really confusing and difficult times. It's a mess. I don't know how anybody, I, like anybody else, I don't know, some people, spiritual people will be like, just manifest. And sure, but I don't always like saying that, because we all have to go through hardships and life lessons, and it's just really wise to have a backup plan right now. If you are a consumer junkie and you are living paycheck to paycheck and spending all of your cash faster than it comes in, you may need to reassess your spending habits and your consumerism addiction and start taking finances extremely fucking seriously in case shit hits the fan in this country. Because we have seen time and time again, you cannot just go and run and hide and think that nothing can happen. It's possible that can happen, but as I've explained in other videos, or people who live, up in the boondocks of northern Washington along the rivers, who are a part of like really nowhere, they're in the natural sections. They're getting targeted by the government because they want their land back. I've seen enough TikTok videos. I don't have TikTok. I just find these videos on Telegram. But I've seen enough people throughout the last 3 years who live in rural sections of the United States, and they, whether it's in Colorado or Wyoming or somewhere, and they said their closest neighbor is like 1 mile down the road, and they got a knock on the door from government officials asking them about their V status. So, it's kind of like city people are targeted. We could all look at the skies over here, like we're constantly getting, I don't know if the light can see, but there's some nice trails in the sky, so we're getting poisoned. The fucking national park that I did the video on, Rocky Mountain National Park in July, was getting poisoned right above. We are all in this garbage crap together, and probably city people will maybe have it a little bit more intense and worse. But I don't know. I actually wanted to do a separate video on this, and the thing is I have to edit it, and I don't really have a whole lot of time to do video editing or add a video in while I'm speaking so you can see it. But like, cities are becoming shitholes, and so a lot of these progressive people are leaving because they are racist hypocrites. So they all want to put up signs in their lawn like Black Lives Matter, and then the more diverse places like Seattle has gotten, with more Black people and Mexicans and stuff like that, it has changed, especially with more migrants coming here. Seattle has become a lot dirtier, especially because of the homeless people leaving trash everywhere. So what have these people done? They have picked up their crap and they've moved to smaller towns in Washington state that are more white than Seattle has ever been. So these people are hypocrites, 100%, scream for diversity, and then when they get what they want, then they funnel off and leave. But the problem is they are leaving, they are taking their garbage with them and changing the more smaller communities. And I will share this about Paulsbo, Washington. That is considered the little Norway of Washington. So you had a lot of Scandinavians that have moved there, predominantly Norwegians. So you have this cute little town that looks like a little Norwegian village. It's like any other little German village that you would see in America. And then there was a store. This was back in like June that I saw this. So their window front was obviously very pride focused. But the store is called the Curious Child. And there was a tall man, bald on top with like long ponytail, looked kind of weird with an N95 mask in June when it's like 80 some degrees outside, which is really hot for the state of Washington. And their storefront was just a bunch of books that was about gender affirmation and questioning your gender as a child. And the shop is called The Curious Child. So, you know, it's like they are bringing this city crap and then changing the other areas. Like, you know, suburban people are kind of hit and miss. You have some that are pro it, and then you have a lot who are against it. Because oftentimes in the suburbs, you get a lot more working class folks who don't have high tolerance for the intellectual elite, like, disgustingness. And so, I don't know. I don't have any, this is going on a rant now, and I think I probably have repeated myself as I have probably in former videos, but my point is, we are being led to a slaughterhouse, and it's happening on both sides. Some, you know, Christians or people in a Christian-based nation are signing up for a disease death trap, and then other people are supporting, you know, war efforts and stuff like that in order to fulfill a biblical prophecy. So I don't know. I really hope things don't get more intense, but it is maybe wise to have a little bit of a backup plan. And if you want to get healthy, this is the time. There is no greater time to start focusing on your health than now. Thank you all. See you later.